Network.
Hello, welcome to this rather impromptu little broadcast. I'm sorry if this camera is a little fuzzy, but it's my MacBook, an old MacBook, and given the space restrictions that we have in here, I've had to be very Heath Robinson about all of this. So yes, you've got glare in my glasses and stuff, but I've had to put all sorts of different things up and try different tripods that I haven't put away yet. So this is far from professional. But what I wanted to do was kind of share with you what's essentially, I guess, my first week with the Arturia Polybrute. First of all, I just want to get a thumbs up from you guys and girls to let me know that the audio is coming through okay. The microphone's kind of over here. As you can just see in the tip of it just there. So hopefully that's getting me, and I've got enough gain on there. But again, like I said, I've kind of had to cobble this together. I didn't really think it through properly. That's my bad. But yeah, hopefully everything is cool, and we'll go to an overhead shot very shortly. And would you believe, like 5 minutes before I started off, the connection from that camera, which is an iPhone, started to get a bit fuzzy, but hopefully you'll kind of get it. I mean, we're not professional YouTubers here. We're just kind of here for the crack, and yeah, good to hear. So welcome to everyone that's in the chat room. There's lots of familiar faces and some ones we don't normally get on a Friday. So great. Simon Glenster, hello. 12 up. Good evening, sir. Welcome. From I think New York, I think you are, and of course all the usual suspects: Asio Head, Mac Wagyu, Pat Brady, Roger Hooper Music, Paul Artola, A to Z, Corrosive Abuser, hello, Graham, Edna's Disco Machine, hi, Keith in Watford, I think I've said Pat Brady, Richard Gruel, Catch a Crab, that's a new one. Good to see you along for the ride. If I've missed anyone, Brett Lemmings, hello. Mark Truman, welcome one and all to this kind of impromptu ProSynth Network session, where I'm going to kind of just go through roughly the Arturia Polybrute. I am not an expert. I've had this literally a week. I think you all, if you've been following the posts on the Facebook group, that it was an arduous process getting the bloody thing here, but it got here a week ago today. So I've kind of been at it for about a week, and I've been watching lots of Mark Doty videos and a few others as well, trying to kind of figure out what everything does. I'm not there yet. So if you're looking for a deep expert kind of thing, this may be not it just yet. Maybe that's going to come later. But I thought I'd kind of go over some stuff, show you some stuff, let you hear it, and hopefully you'll get some idea of what it sounds like. And yeah, so just noticed my hair's all over the place, but hey, I've just been watching Holby. Ooh, dramatic. Right, so let's switch to a different camera shot here, and hopefully, there we go. So you've got me just there, and I'm going to turn away so you're just going to see the side of my head here. Or I could just actually go full screen on the keyboard. But for now, we'll we'll go through. Now, Andy says in the chat room, is this your only analog synth? Are all the rest FM or digital? No, this is the first analog polysynth that I have spent time with, that's kind of lived here and I've been able to mess around with. I've played polysynths at other people's places or in shops back in the day when you could do that. But this is the first time I've had an analog poly in here. So my opinion comes from that really basic ignorance, I guess, of what a polysynth can do, what it's capable of, and how it works when you're programming it. I do have analog synths, so I've got, what have I got analog wise? I've got Uno Synth and Uno Synth Pro. I've got the Behringer TD3, which doesn't come out that often, and I've got the MS101 as well, which I thought was great fun, and I like that. So I mean, I'm not completely ignorant of analog synthesis. I know what is what, and what does what, and what goes where. But yeah, I'm kind of excited, and my excitement was what's the word? Fulfilled when this turned up, because it really is quite a fun thing. So yeah, without further ado, let's go. Let me just take you through what's what on the panel here. So let me just bring this up as the main shot. Now, again, you're going to have to forgive me. I'm literally doing everything here, switching the shots. I don't have any fancy shot switching technology, so it's all going to be done on the MacBook. So apologies. Anyway, let's go from left to right. I'm going to leave this thing here, this lovely, lovely thing. I'm going to leave that till last. But if we just go on the top panel here, so you've got your mod and pitch bend wheels as expected, and there's octave transpose buttons, so 2 octaves down, 2 octaves up. So you've got a nice full range of stuff there. To the left here, you can select the type of polyphony you want. So mono, unison or poly, and then you've got timbrality, because this is essentially a bitimbral synth, single, layer and split, so you can do all of that. The wheel button here refers to what we would normally refer to as the mod wheel. They just call it the wheel, and I guess it's because there's so many different ways to modulate the sounds on here that just calling this the mod wheel is a little bit disingenuous. So the wheel can be assigned to the matrix, to the filter cutoff, to vibrato, or to LFO1 amplitude. So you can select those, and all of these are selectable and stored within the patch. And then finally, you've got the Morphe switch here, which this is the Morphe, of course, as you're probably aware. And again, that can affect the matrix, the ARP or the sequencer, or the actual morphing function, which is just here. This is a very special knob. We like knobs. This is a very special knob because this is one of the things that kind of makes the PolyBrute stand out. So as I said, it's kind of like a bitimbral synth. You can actually program 2 patches or 2 voices in one patch, A and B. And by turning this control here, you can sweep through and morph. And this is not crossfading, this is actually morphing from the settings in A to the settings in B. And they can be entirely different. And what you're actually going to do by turning this knob is changing all the settings through their range from one position to the other. But of course, you can stop at any point in between and call that your patch. It's a blend, it's a morph of the settings. So it's not crossfading, it's actually morphing, it's changing the settings. So, and you can assign all sorts of different things, and as you morph through, you can change from one filter to another, because this has 2 types of filters. You can do all sorts. I mean, the modulation possibilities, as anyone that's used a matrix type synth, the Matrix Brute, for example, this over here really is the heart and soul of it all. And then this knob here is glide, so it's just very simple. It's the more you turn it, you know, the bigger the glide between, or the longer the glide between the 2 notes. Right, over here, VCO1. So there are 2 VCOs, and as I understand it, there are 6 oscillators in each VCO group. So VCO1 is the main oscillator. So let me just pop this onto an init patch. So what we're going to do is I'm going to set everything to basic, and we'll do that, and we'll turn off VCO2, we'll turn off the noise. Right, So this is basic sawtooth territory. And you can sweep through the tuning, and it goes 2 octaves up and 2 octaves down. Now when you turn the knob, it does step. That is only when you turn the knob. If you're modulating the tuning, the pitch of the oscillator with an LFO, it's perfectly smooth. This is just about getting your basic pitch. And you'll notice there's a little light just there, and that little LED turns on when you're at an octave. So it will go off. There you go. There you go. So it's a nice visual indication of where you should be in terms of the octave. Just need to say hello, Ty, darling. Welcome. If anybody doesn't know, Ty was very dubious about this, shall we say. He got one. He's a little less dubious, but maybe still not quite there. I don't for a second think that I'm ever going to change his mind. But hey, you never know. So yeah, your tuning of your VCO1 goes across 4 octaves. You've got sawtooth, ramp down, and you've got triangle, so you can sweep between those and morph between them. So you can have all sawtooth, all triangle, or anywhere in between. Okay. The next knob is basically the square wave. But you'll notice, I don't know if you can see quite the detail here, there is a marker that says, well, what I'm going to do with this knob here is I'm going to blend whatever is coming through from the sawtooth stroke triangle waveform with the pulse width. So let me see if I can demonstrate that with sound. Sawtooth, triangle. Let's have it somewhere in between, like there. And now I'm going to bring the square wave. So this is 100% square wave. And that's a blend of square wave and a blend of sawtooth and triangle. So you can really kind of make all sorts of changes there. And of course, I'm going to say this a lot, all of this is assignable to the matrix and to any kind of modulation routing that you can pretty much imagine. Whilst we're on the subject of the square wave, you have pulse width, which does go all the way to closed, which means you get nothing. Okay, so that's really basically oscillator 1. There is a couple of other knobs on here that I need to tell you about. So the first one is the metallizer. So we're going to put this on the triangle waveform, and I'm going to turn the pulse, the square wave off. So this is just that's the triangle waveform, but I'm going to now use the metallizer, which is basically wavefolding. Now I'm putting in some square with some pulse width. Back to just the triangle. And that's the metallizer. So it's basically doing wavefolding. The last knob here is the sync oscillator. Now you're probably not going to hear anything with just one note. Let's go back to a sawtooth, it's a little bit clearer. But when you play a chord, you'll just kind of hear the fading as it's starting the oscillators. And of course, you can mess around with that and sync it to VCO2 as well. So lots of control over just the VCO1 there. By the way, I've been passing all of this through the standard ladder filter, which is a 24 dB 4-pole based on the classic mode design. So that's just been going through that filter. We'll look at the filters in just a moment. So that's oscillator 1. Let me just make sure that we've got things. Is it possible to modulate the metalizer via envelopes? I believe that is possible. As I said at the beginning, I'm not an expert on this yet. I've literally had this a week. But it is possible, I think, to modulate the metalizer via the envelope. So yeah, you just route it through using the matrix. Maybe we can see if we can do that later. Thanks for that question. Just seeing if there's any other things that I've missed. No. Please remember that I'm doing all these things at once. I might miss your question. So if I do, don't be afraid to put it in again. Right, VCO2. Let's go to VCO2. So I'm going to turn VCO1 down in the mixer. This is the mixer, by the way. It's very simple. VCO1, VCO2, and noise. And you'll notice there's an LED light next to each of those. And that tells you whether you're going through the ladder filter, the Steiner filter, or both. And we'll come to how that operates in a little while. At the moment, everything's going through the ladder filter. Right. As your head says, have I warmed it up? Yes, it's been on for a good couple of hours. So it should be nice and in tune. VCO2. Right. So VCO2, let me just set everything back to basics here. So VCO2, its tuning only goes 7 semitones either side. So let's just bring this up. So here's a sawtooth. So only 7 semitones either way. I don't know the exact reason for that, but it's not in any way disheartening, because when you blend that, you get instant fifths. So maybe that's just the only reason why. So that's the sawtooth on oscillator 2, and of course exactly the same. You have the triangle, and you can morph between those, and you have the square wave with the pulse width exactly the same. So there's no difference with those. What is different though, first of all, is the sub oscillator, which is this knob here. So you can blend as much of that sub in as you want. And that's just going to give you a little bit of bottom end in your patches. And you can put as much or as little of that in there as you want. Finally, here's a knob that I like, because I understand it. It's frequency modulation. So, on its own, does nothing within oscillator 2, because what it does is it affects oscillator 1. So I'm going to turn oscillator 1 back on, and I'm actually going to turn oscillator 2 off in the mixer. So now we're hearing oscillator 1, but I'm actually going to bring frequency modulation in from oscillator 2. Let's change. So let me put some sounding a bit weird. So I'm just sweeping up and down with that that FM. Now, most of the time, if you do it at the extreme, it's going to sound a bit ugh. But start giving it a little, kind of about there maybe. Bring in some wave folding on oscillator 1. Bring some sync in. So, whilst that might, at my hands, not sound particularly musical at this moment in time, which is often said about my playing, you can see that the possibilities of what you can do with this oscillator set and that one And then, of course, if you bring the volume of oscillator 2 in, so you get the idea. And of course, I'm twiddling all of these knobs with my hands, and that means that nothing's being automatically modulated by any of the LFOs or anything else within the synth, but literally everything that I'm turning with my hands, as I understand it, is modulatable through the matrix. I wouldn't say it's infinite possibilities, but it's pretty big. So those are your two oscillators. I'm just going to bring these back down, so we've just got a standard sound. I'm going to bring both of those down, just show you what the noise is all about. So in the mixer, you've just basically got the volume, but you have noise color, and this kind of sweeps through. Again, it's not particularly apparent, really. There we go. So you go from like rumble noise all the way through to, I think it's white noise with pinks and browns or whatever in between. I don't know the colours, but yeah. So that's all there. You can mix and blend that in and pass that through whichever filter you want to pass it through. Oscillator 1, oscillator 2, the mixer, and noise and noise colour. What we've missed off here, which I'll probably show you a little later, is the filter FM. So you can use oscillator 2 to frequency modulate the filter, VCF1, and you can use noise into VCF2. So let's see if we can. I'm going to mess around with. Probably be best if I leave that until we. Yeah, we'll come back to that with the filters. So, oscillators. Filter section, we have two. The first at the top here is the Steiner filter. Cutoff and resonance. Then we have the brute factor, which is, of course, a common thing with Arturia stuff. And then you can move between low pass, high pass, and band pass, and of course that's sweepable as well. Then you have your envelope amount and your level, and then you have your filter envelope just at the top here with the velocity setting, standard ADSR. Okay. The ladder filter at the bottom here, same as before. You've got cutoff and resonance and VCF envelope amount and level. But instead of the brute factor, you have a distortion on this filter. And then this one's quite cool because this allows you to use the filters in series or in parallel. So you can turn them on or off, and you can activate them on each oscillator by selecting their positions here. So for example, you see there's two LEDs on there now, which means that oscillator 1 is going to be going through both filters. So let's just turn both of those down. And then bring. So at the moment, that's going through both the Steiner and the ladder filter in series. And then you can move it into parallel. If you turn the filter off on the mixer, that obviously detaches the connection. So let's go back and have a look at the ladder filter. So let's bring this. So let's give it about 50% resonance. Max maximum resonance. That's with distortion, which just gives it a little bit of extra beef. And then of course you've got the filter envelope here. Which hopefully this is coming through at reasonable levels. And you've got a velocity slider here, so you can assign velocity to that filter as well. That's the ladder filter. The Steiner filter, let's just do that on its own. So let's give it why are we not getting anything through? Oh, it's because I've got the wrong bloody filter chosen. Sorry, that was a Steiner. This is the what we. Oh, do you know, I've got lost now. What am I doing? Here we go. So, was I just demonstrating the Steiner filter? I was, wasn't I? I just completely lost it. So again, I'm going to have to make some admissions here. I'm not. This is the first time I've ever had a synth with a Steiner filter on, so I couldn't say, you know, if it's a good one or a bad one because I've never heard another one. But you know, it gives you options. He says, and I've lost it. If you are wondering, the filter is self-oscillating. And you do have key tracking. So you can key track the filter and do all of that kind of funky stuff. Something I like to do on the 101. So that's a self-oscillating filter there, and I think the Steiner, let's put that through the Steiner. Slightly, you know, obviously a different filter gives a different response there, but it does self-oscillate. So let's actually bring a tone into that, and we're going to put that through there. And let's So as far as I can tell, the brute factor is kind of like a distortion on the ladder filter. So it gives a. See that? Can you hear? Oh, you can get that on the string. effect. Yeah, so there's your filters. I'm not going to go into much more detail there, other than they really do allow you to shape the sounds very nicely when you're mixing and blending them. The big silver knob here is the master cutoff. So by twiddling this, you are affecting the cutoff of both filters at the same time. So quite a flexible filter section. So yeah, oscillators and filters, and then we have envelopes. So we have the VCF envelope, the VCA envelope, and the modulation envelope. Both the VCF and VCA have velocity, and then attack, decay, sustain, and release settings. And then the mod envelope has a delay, so that's obviously delaying the LFO's effect on whatever you've set that as. The LFOs are probably the bit I haven't really dug into too much. And by the way, I can see all your snide remarks about DX7s and all this kind of stuff. Very funny, haha. Look, I have played with analog synths before. This is not a first for me. So let's see if we've got any questions on here. Sam Larry says all of those filter options have been on the Solaris for years. Very true, but I do believe the Solaris is that some, I can't remember how much that is. But anyway, yeah. Wagyu says, is this the first time you've had a filter knob instead of buttons? No. As I said before, I've got the 101, I've got the Prophecy and the Z1, and they've all got filter knobs, and the CS6X, and so yes, I'm au fait with filter knobs. Now, Wilderness Music says, or asks, should I say, we can bypass the filter on one oscillator then while filtering the other. So yeah, basically what you've got here is you can turn the filters, you can choose which filter you want each VCO to go through. And you can either have the ladder filter, both the filters, ladder and Steiner, or just the Steiner, or none at all. So if you wanted to use, say, VCO2 purely to modulate VCO1, you can turn that filter option off and just have that one. But also the other thing that you can do is you can morph from one filter to another filter if you set that up in the modulation settings. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Ty says, can you just slide in and mention the Solaris? By all means, slide in, Ty, slide in. Yeah, so anyway, right. Yes, please, as JX3D says, I can't answer in the chat now since I'm discovering knobs. But look, yeah, I'm familiar with most of this. The LFOs I haven't really dug into. I've messed around with a little bit, but I don't want to go into massive amounts of detail because I don't want to say anything that's incorrect. However, you have 3 LFOs. Now, LFO 1 and 2 are mostly the same. So LFO 1, you have a choice of 7 shapes, just as you do with LFO 2, and that's sine, triangle, square, ramp down, ramp up, sawtooth, sample and hold, and then I can't remember what that last one is, but yeah, there's another one there. You can sync both of those if you want. LFO 1 has a rate and a phase control. LFO 2 has a fade in and a rate control, so that's slightly different. And then LFO 3, you can choose a curve, symmetry and rate, and then retrigger, single, sync, and multiply LFO 1. I'm not going to, at this point, I'm not going to go into what that does. Right. Matrix. So the matrix is really the heart of the synthesizer. And this is where obviously all the displays are. I'm not sure if the camera is picking this up. Let me just turn Ty's comment off there. That's lovely to have that power over Ty. I don't know if you can pick this up on the camera, but if you want to know, I haven't peeled the plastic off yet. I'm not at that point, but I probably will be soon. Anyway, so you have two screens. You have a 3-digit LED or LCD, whatever you want to call it. So 3-character, which basically, as you can see here, is giving you the location. For example, here it says 8D1. That's because I'm in bank 8, row D, column 1. So as soon as you press that, you go bank 8, row G, column F. So it's a quick way of choosing, and then you can scroll through using the arrow buttons if you wish. And this is just simple patch selection. So you have 8 banks, and each bank has 96, so 768 patches you can store in this at one go. So if you want to choose patch 1, bank 1, you just hit 1 at the top there, and then A in the corner there, and you get 1, A1, and then you get your first patch. It's called Brute Embrace. Right, so yeah, you've got these 8 buttons that address the columns, and then you've got the matrix here, and you'll see that you've got A to L, and then you'll see, again, you probably can't see on the screen, but you have destination points here as well. So VCF envelope, modulation envelope, voices, LFO 1s to 3, and so on and so forth. So you can use this for quick referencing for the setting up the matrix settings. These 4 key buttons are here, so this determines the setting of the matrix, so what you're accessing. So the first one is presets. So once that's lit, the matrix is allowing you to select presets. Mods brings in your modulations, and you'll see all these different lights light up because it's telling you that. So on the screen it says here 1A, so that's the Steiner slope is routed to the VCF envelope generator, so you can instantly kind of see what's going on within the matrix. Then you have the sequencer. So the sequencer mode, this acts as a sequencer, step sequencer. You can have 1 to 30, or 64 step sequencer with different modulations going on in there as well. And then finally, the morph button allows you to copy voice A to B, B to A, edit B, and then it allows you to choose and select. I don't know if you can see on the screen, there's a little indicator just here that shows how much of A and B you've got dialed in with the rotary control. So there you go. And then this large knob here is just the amount knob. So whenever you've got something selected and you want to change it, you turn the amount knob. And so let's see if we can mess around with that. Let's do a modulation here. We'll choose this one. So when you have a modulation route in place, it's blue. When you want to edit it, you just tap it and it turns pink. And then you have this control here, which if I just get my finger out of the way, you probably see you've got LEDs around the edge, so to give you an idea of where you are, but also on the screen it tells you what's going on as well. So I think it was about there. And we should lock that in place. Right, that's the matrix. Again, not going to go into massive depth there because I'm still learning, but that's the kind of the heart of the machine. So you select your presets there, you can mess around with the mod matrix, you can program the sequencer there as well and set all your morph settings. Let's go on to the kind of the audio output stage and the performance features. So at the top here, you've got master volume, headphone volume, and you've got a fine tune knob there as well to fine tune the whole synth should you need to, but I've not experienced this going out of tune at all whatsoever. The effects button here allows you to select whether they're insert, send or bypass, and then this is a rather nice feature. It's a stereo widening feature, so turning it all the way around to the right gives you a broader stereo image, and all the way to the left gives you a slightly closer stereo image, and then you have everything in between. Then you have the effects section here. So there's a really nice selection of modulation effects, choruses, phasers, and so on. There's some nice delays and reverbs. Now, on the control panel, you can select 3 different types of each just by hitting a button. If you want more, you can do that through the matrix here. So with the modulation, this is intensity, and then you choose chorus, phaser, or alternate. And the alternate can be flanger, phaser, ring mod, bit crusher, soft flanger, phase flanger, and a down sampler. So you can choose which one of those you want in the alternate position. Okay, so we'll just bring that back to chorus. Same with the delay. So you've got delay level of delay, time, and then instantly selectable. You've got a bucket brigade delay, you've got a ping pong, and then you've got alternative. And in the alternative section, you've got stereo, long delay, BBD ping pong, carpless, stereo spread, parallel, and a BBD spread. So you can choose a good number of delays there. And then over here is the regeneration, which I guess is like feedback, I suppose. Delay feedback. Probably not the best patch to show that on, but anyway. Delay, reverb, lots of lovely reverb on here. So you can have hall, plate, or again, alternative, you can have a bright plate, a room, a dreamy, which is kind of like a shimmer, springy and delayed plate. And then you've got reverb level, reverb time, and damping over here. So you've got kind of the standard stuff to hand, and then if you want the alternative one to be something a bit more specific, you can set that up here in the matrix, and then every time you select alternate, you'll get that one as your choice. Finally, down here you have the sequencer and arpeggiator section. So some patches will come with this built in, or you can build your own, and you can choose between the sequencer and the arp. There's a hold function, there's a metronome on and off, there's a play mode selector, so you can go forward, pendulum, random, or walk. You've got a time division, sequence length, and swing factor there as well. There's a gate function there, and then the tempo or rate as they call it here. And you've also got a tap tempo there for the sequencer if you want to use that as well. Then this is the motion record, and I've not touched this at all. So I'm not even going to try and tell you what's going on with the motion record. I guess it's going to record maybe you sweeping through the filter or morphing on the morph A, because you arm the record and then you have once or loop, and so I'm guessing that's probably what it does. I haven't tried it yet. I've not got that far, so apologies. Google it. Anyway, so that's the control surface, which is extensive and detailed and nicely laid out, easy to understand. Just very quickly on the rear of the machine, I haven't got a camera set up, but you've got a power supply and switch here. You've got USB socket there. I've got traditional 5-pin MIDI in, out and through. As you can see, fans, I've got CME WIDI Master in there as well. You've got 2 expression pedals and a sustain pedal socket. There's also the memory protect is a physical switch on the back of the synth. I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing, but it's there at the back of the synth. And then nothing until you get right over here, and then you've got left and right audio outputs. And it looks like I froze for a bit there, so apologies for that. So yeah, you've got audio output left and right at the back there. Pretty basic selection of controls. I'm just trying to remember if there is. Yes, there is sync in and out as well. Oops, that's my fat belly pressing the keys. There is sync in and out as well, so you can connect it up to anything that uses the 3.5mm sync connections, as are common these days. Right, let's go back to presets. Let's go back to the first one. So, expression. One of the things I love about this, and I love about any synth, is expressivity. That's a word? I'm sure that's a word. I hope it's a word. I've just used it. So there are lots of avenues for expression on the PolyBrute, which is lovely. So let me find a patch that demonstrates some of this. So this is a patch called Aftertouch Brass, because you have aftertouch. So you have aftertouch. It's channel aftertouch. It's not poly aftertouch, you know, shame, but there you go. And there's plenty of aftertouch settings in here, so you can have it, you know, light or heavy or whatever. You've got pitch bend, and you've got mod wheels. And the mod wheel, as we said before, I can assign it literally just by touching a switch, so I can have that effect. Filter cutoff, vibrato, LFO 1 amplitude, and the matrix if it was set up that way, but I'm just going to leave that on vibrato. So lots of instant kind of options for the mod wheel there. But of course, there are two aspects to this synth in terms of expression that are mostly unique to it. The first one is, and you probably can't see it in the light here, but it's this lovely little recessed ribbon controller that goes from here to here. So it's a good length, as Mrs. Puricelli never says. There's a little kind of groove that's just cut in there, so you know exactly where centre point is, at the bottom of Oxford Street. Centre point. And you can use it for all sorts of different things. Again, you can assign pretty much any parameter to the ribbon controller. So you can have it open and close the filter. You can have it change the resonance. You can have it change the speed of the arpeggiator. You can have it messing with the metalizer if you want to do that. So all of that's possible to be set up. So it's just one way of using. There, it's pitch bend. Let's see if I can find something a little bit. You get the idea. It's a ribbon controller. If you like ribbons, this is nice. So yeah, Native VS asks in the chat, is it always absolute, or is there a way to have it relative? It is relative. So there are some instances where if you start in the middle, it only goes up about halfway, because again, I'm not sure if you can see this very well, but as soon as you touch the ribbon, you get a ribbon control graphic. So in this patch here, if I start in the middle and go all the way to the right hand side, it only goes halfway up the scale. But if I start at the bottom, the ribbon controller starts in the middle but goes all the way to the top when I get over here, and the same thing happens when I go all the way down over here. In other times, you can have it center and go all the way down, center, go all the way up, and then of course you can just tap it at any point in between. So lots of possibilities with the ribbon controller. And because it's part of this nice kind of shiny wood covering, and that's my only concern, is how long that would last after a long period of use, and should that fail, is this part easily fixable? I mean, I'm just thinking ahead with my kind of synth repair head on. Not entirely sure how serviceable that is. Might be something I need to ask. But it's unobtrusive, it looks nice, you know it's there because it's slightly recessed, and it works really, really well. It's very nice. But of course, the big talking point on this synth is the Morphe, which I believe is how it's pronounced, because it has the little inflection above the top. And this is basically an XYZ controller. It is not anything like the Expressive E, which does a lot more. This is simply an XYZ controller. So X and Y on the panel, and then Z with the sprung element as you push down on it. And again, you can assign pretty much anything to the X and Y, and of course to the Z plane on here as well, and it becomes this kind of wholly expressive thing. And I've actually found myself not even using pitch bend or modulation wheels and just doing everything on this. Now I need to make sure I've got a patch that responds. I could go on, I often do, but you get the idea that this actually opens up a whole kind of world of expression that we don't often find on synths. I was trying to think the other day how many synths had an XY pad or even a ribbon controller, and I've actually got 3 synthesizers. I've got CS6X, which had the ribbon, short ribbon. I've got the Prophecy, which had the ribbon, along with that kind of log wheel controller. And then I've got the Z1, which had the XY pad on it. It's not a common thing, and I think that's really nice to have. You know, the option here. A lot of people have, you know, kind of taken the mick out of it, but it's one of those things that I think until you play with it, you don't really appreciate what you can do with it and how you can mess it around, mess around with the sound. Now, the other thing that obviously it can do a lot of or help with is the morphing. So you've got the morph control here. I'm just going to see if this is a patch. Let me just try and find a patch that uses. Okay, so this is a fairly decent example. So this is the A sound. So as I said before, each patch has 2 sounds. So it's a bitimbral synth, and you can play one or the other and anything in between. It's not crossfading. It's literally changing all of the settings from those that are in position A to those that are in position B, and so anywhere in between is kind of a new sound. I don't know what the definition is that the right word? Definition? Resolution, that's the word I'm looking for. I don't know what the resolution is on this knob, so how many kind of points there are, but I imagine there's quite a few. So this patch here, let me just play the chord. It's kind of a nice soft brassy sound, and that's in patch position A. But if I go all the way to B, so it becomes a much shorter, abrupt sound with the delay. And so if I move from one to the other with the chord held down, probably works best going the other way. So I can have a combination of the two. Well, I say a combination, it really is kind of like a halfway point. So with this patch, so I just had to play around with it there. Let me just go up a bit. So this is A, this is B. I'm going to go back to A again. And you'll notice that if I don't touch the morph pad but use the XY surface, That's taking me through the different patches. It sounds like the Z is messing around with the filter somewhat. So you have all of this kind of variation, and if you program a patch and you program, say, two complementary patches that are quite different, you can go from one to the other or somewhere in between, and then use the Morphe controller to mess around with modulations and filters, and also the morphing process as well. One thing I was hoping for with this, and it's something you get on the Korg Prophecy, the hardware version, not the software version, because I haven't found that yet. Excuse me a minute, I'm getting rather hot here. Alexa, fan on. Okay. There we go. Start my fan. Start the fans, please. So where was I? Yes, the Korg Prophecy, on its log controller, as it's often called, is that kind of wide wheel with the ribbon on top. There was a hold button. So if you used that control through X and Y axes, if you got to a point where I like that sound, you could press the hold button and then let go of the wheel and it would stay there. There doesn't appear to be anything that does that here. So if I'm blending through, say I like that version, I don't believe, I have not found it, I don't believe there's a button that says hold it there and then I can go off and play two-handedly. So I've kind of got to go back. And again, to come back to, I think, Native VS's point, the position of your finger on this pad can either be, so I can tap, and some like on this patch here, if I tap it anywhere on the pad, it goes to that setting at that on those axes. But on some, you can only start in the corners, say, or the bottom, for example, so that you can mess around with the positioning of what happens and where it happens on the surface. And it's really nice, actually, when you're flicking through a lot of the presets, which is I've been doing a lot, when you can hear the nuances that have been programmed, like just there. This is kind of low-end rumble, which is really nice, and you can hear a lot of this stuff. It's really very cool. So in terms of expression, I mean, anything that makes me sound like I know what I'm doing, I'm going to like. And that's one of the reasons I love the Korg Prophecy, because I can fudge my way through it and actually still sound quite competent. So anything that helps in that regard, I'm going to really, really like. So, where are we? So yeah, Morphe, strip, wheels, matrix. I guess you probably really want to hear kind of what this thing sounds like. Now, I just want to ask, Ty, are you still in the room? Are you still watching? If so, please acknowledge my existence in the chat, because I just want to put something to you. I want to give you a kind of an opportunity to express something. So just wait and see if Ty's in the chat room still. But while we're waiting for him to say yay or nay, one of the things that Ty said to me on the phone some while ago when we were talking about this, he said, you know what, it's not bad. He said, I didn't rate it to start with, but I've had it for a little while and played around with it. And the one thing that really struck me is, and I hope I'm not misquoting him here, the one thing that really struck him was that it sounded quite nasally. And I thought, well, what does a nasal synth sound like? So I kind of had an idea in my head. And when I bought this into the studio and set it up, the first thing that was in my head was, is this going to sound nasally? Because I respect Ty, I respect his opinion. It's highly regarded. He knows what he's talking about. So if he says something is nasally, then I guess it's nasally. So I started to play through the patches here, and I'm thinking, is that nasal? Is that not nasal? And I was hoping that he might still be in the chat, but he's not acknowledged me, so he might have had to go, which is a shame. But I will be calling him, and we'll have a long discussion about whether this is nasal or not. Anyway, enough with this. Let's crack on, and you're going to have to forgive my playing skills are primitive at best, but hopefully I'll give you some idea of some of the patches that we have in here and what they sound like. And then once we've gone through the patches, I'm going to show you PolyBrute Connect, which is the application, and that really adds a whole other dimension to the whole synthesizer. So we started off with no, that's particularly nasal. Here's a thing that I forgot to mention. It is, of course, 6-voice polyphonic. And I will hold my hands up and say that when Arturia announced this and said it was 6-voice polyphonic, I think it was shortly after something else had come out that was it the Udo? I can't remember. But I think we all kind of, certainly on the live show, we kind of said, what? 6 voices? Are you kidding? 6 voices? Well, at least give us 8. And we were all saying, oh, well, you know, it's going to be awful, isn't it? You know what? I didn't even think about it until about 3 days into having this here. And I thought, oh, God, yeah, this is 6 voices. Oh, well, I've not noticed any notes dropping out or anything. It just didn't cross my mind. And then it went away again. So, I mean, I am not a proficient keyboard player, as has been widely made apparent. So, you know, I can't do all this, you know, Michael Whalen, you know, lightning fast trills across here. And so I'm not doing any of that. What I do like to do is I do like to have, like, hold down a kind of a root note and play a chord. And if I'm playing a triad up here and a couple of root notes down here, I'm never going to know. So I've not really come across that as a limitation. I might do at some point, but right now it's just not apparent. So let's pick out. I'm going to pick out some voices. Where are we? Do you know, it does some really authentic stuff that you would not imagine an analog. Hey, Mark's in the room. Mark Zaffin, welcome, sir. I'm going to do what you said. I'm going to play all the black... Not what you said, what your mate said. I'm going to play all the black notes. Sounds in here. I love this one. low velocities, it's just like it's only triggering one VCO, but at higher the velocities, it brings in the fifth. That's really nice. Some nice sequences. I love this sequence. This is really nice. Yeah, I just get carried away with all those kinds of things. Got some third-party stuff in here as well. Let's find some. I'll tell you what. Yeah, this is nice. This is nice. These patches are by Katsunori-san of musictrack.jp, and these are his kind of love letter to Tomita. There's some really nice stuff in here. Where's the... Copyright strike me there, YouTube. Go for it. Where are we? Let's see. We've got to do this, haven't we? I can always get that. There we go. Almost there. Got to have a nice brass. Where are we? Fingers. Nice brass sounds on here though. What is this? Oh, is it? No. Oh, I can't remember that. It's that Ed bloke, isn't it? Oh, here you go. Yep, definitely, definitely Alan Parsons. You'll know this one. No, I can't play this. I've just remembered. Oh, you get the idea. I'm embarrassing myself here. Oh no, I've completely forgotten the chords. No, I can't do Africa chords. I'm going to probably get copyright struck all over the place. Probably not, because my playing's awful. Let's see, what else have we got in here that's rather nice. And then I'll... A hint of DX, this patch is called. Might be easier actually if you have any kind of requests for different types of sounds, then maybe I should show you this. So let me just add this to the stream, and hopefully this will come up. There we go. Right, so here's me. Hello. Let me just bring this full screen, and then you'll see exactly what I see. And I am going to I'm going to not ignore your chat. I'm just going to move that over there. Right, so hopefully you're still seeing that. Great. Okay, sorry, I'm kind of doing all this in my head here. Please keep chatting away. I can see you mostly. Thank you, JX3D. I'm not embarrassing myself. Well, yeah, I wish I could just play better. Anyway, here we go. This is PolyBrute Connect, and this really then just adds a whole other layer to this synthesizer and its ability. So as you can see, this is pretty much a condensed version of the front panel. What's missing is the matrix. Well, that's not a problem because the matrix exists under a separate button, and you can bring up the matrix on the screen like so, and you can see all the different values to all the different combinations of source and destination here. So you can have the keyboard or the matrix, and as you can see, as I'm messing around with the Morphe, you can see the different settings that are going through there. So everything's kind of tied in. Same with the ribbon controller. All of these settings can be changed here on the screen, and they will change exactly the sound on here. So let me just... That's me changing the master cutoff with my mouse. And where you see the green mark, that's the original position of the setting. So yeah, everything here is editable, and it happens instantaneously on the synth. The VST version, or the VST plugin version of this, an audio unit version, will be addressable from the DAW, so you can modulate all of the settings within the DAW if you wish to do that as well. So there's another layer of control that you can have because you've got the plugin here as well. So all the controls here are mirrored in the software. You've got the matrix, which you can expand and affect and use here as well using just the computer screen. You've got a bunch of preset settings, so these are some of the settings that you find on the panel, such as the motion record and the sequencer. But then you can also change upper voicing, lower voicing, whether it's poly or mono or unison. Unison counts a number of voices, upper and lower, vibrato settings, touch controls and pedal controls. And then you've got overall global settings, which are all accessible from the synth itself within the menu system, but of course you can address them individually here within the app. And those of you that have got any of the Arturia plugins, whether it's V Collection or just one of the individual instruments from there, you'll notice that this looks entirely familiar. So top left hand corner, you've got the save, the import, the export. You can resize this window either using the keyboard, or you can choose a percentage scale setting there, audio MIDI settings, and help and about. Then of course you've got the library, which again, it works exactly the same as the rest of the V Collection does. So on the left hand side you have the search function. You can filter by type, filter by style. You've got factory banks stored in here as well. I haven't got all. I've got a bunch of banks that I've acquired off various places. They're on my main computer. They're not on here at the moment. But what I'm going to try and do is, you see in the right hand corner here it says fetching metadata. Please restart your device to retry. I'm just going to try it once. This is one of the very few problems I've found with this, and that is getting these to communicate, certainly the standalone app, to communicate immediately. Oh, there you go, it's done it. So sometimes it doesn't do it first time, sometimes you have to turn the synth off and on again, but it's done it this time, so that's really cool. So what you can see here is these are all the presets that are loaded into my PolyBrute here. So it's gone off and it's picked all of those, and as you can see here I've got the 8 banks that I can just pick and choose. So there's a few up here, there's a few over here, and so on. So it's 768 patch slots altogether. And I can save these as projects, and projects is a concept within here that you can have to kind of group together specific sounds. So you might have a project per song, for example. So you might have a bunch of sounds or patches that you want to use in particular songs. You can just call those up, and you can set them up in here and then send them to the PolyBrute by clicking this button here. So you can send different projects at different times to have different sounds accessible, whenever you want. So that's quite a useful feature. But other than that, the rest of it is pretty much the same as you would find on any Arturia V Collection plugin. So in the middle here, you've got all your search results. So if you haven't searched for anything, everything appears, and you can filter and order it however you want. I should have set this up because I had a bunch of favorites logged in, but that's on my desktop rather than my laptop. So yeah, and of course, you've got the typical function where you can just go and choose a Now, who was it in the chat room said that cinematic was a nice patch? So here we go. So we can just very easily find certain patches. Cinematic tension, is that the one? Interesting. I'm not sure that's the one that they were referring to. Might be another patch. Anyway, we can filter by designer. So lots of people contributed to the banks here. We can filter by bank types as well. We can filter by favorites. We can choose featured or just by name. There you go. Cinematic strings. That's, I think, the patch. There we go. Synriser. That's it. There we go. Let's have a listen to this one. That filter opening is the aftertouch. You're right, it is a very nice patch. Yeah, there's all sorts of really great patches in here. I'm struggling, so I don't know if did Ty come back at all? I've not seen him. I have to say I struggle to find this nasally in any way. I mean, yeah, there are some patches and that sound nasally, but there are patches that sound nasally on other things. I think if you really dig into this, you can come up with pretty much anything you like. I mean, I've heard patches on here that sound similar to, you know, Prophets or Oberheims in my very limited experience of those synths. But yeah, there's some really very, very nice sounds on here that are full and deep, and some are thin, some are thick, some are fat, some are whatever. You know, there's all sorts. So yeah. Wagyu says Ty's gone to Kent's to get another synth fix. Jesus. Oh, he's joking. I thought you were being serious there. Actually, myself and Ben are going to see Kent very soon. Watch this space. Some interesting developments afoot. And I can categorically tell you that that's not happening, Native VS. More on that at a later date. So yeah. What was that thing I came up with the other day? I don't particularly find this okay, so here's a patch that I've just played one patch, and then just by going through the way it evolves just by moving around that really is a very inspiring machine. It really, really is. Let's just... I don't think there's anything... I don't know if anybody's got any questions about the plugin or the standalone, because this works as a standalone and plugin as well. But yeah, I mean, literally everything can be automated in your DAW. This also handles firmware updates and everything. You can download this free of charge from the Arturia website, but it will do nothing until you've got a PolyBrute connected to it. So that's kind of, you know, the iLock for it, shall we say. Right, let's come back to the stream so I can have a look at what's going on. So let's take that off of there and probably get my ugly mush. Hello, I'm here. I'm going to take the glasses off. So PolyBrute, there it is. I don't know if that has whetted your appetite at all. My first impressions were that it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful object to look at. You know, you just have this. It's very nice. You know, the wood, you know, makes it analogy. No, seriously, the wood cheeks on here, they're kind of sculpted, and they don't fully cover. You take a look at a picture. Let me see if I can bring a picture in, because I'm sure I have one. Let's just do this. Add an overlay. Because I could take the camera off its mount, but then I'll never get it back in the right place again. So let's just add this picture onto the screen, and hopefully it will show you kind of what I'm talking about. Yeah, so if you look on the screen here, you'll see that the wood panels don't cover the entire side here. This lower portion here is actually black Tolex, or Tolex effect material. So it's wood and Tolex, and then you've got this kind of sort of greeny grey anodized metal casing, and it is metal, and then you've got this kind of faux wood piece in the middle. So it's a beautiful thing to look at. It's 20 kilos in weight, so it's not a slouch by any means in that department. It's got heft, that's for sure. And it just sounds really, really great. Don't worry, I haven't abandoned my digital roots. I was actually playing this the other night layered up with the Essence FM, which has had to kind of move over onto the desk over here because I'm running out of space. I mean, again, I'm not going to turn the cameras, but the KX88 that normally sits here is up against the wall at the moment. And no, Andrew Brooks, you can't have it. So that's up against the wall, and the Essence is over here, and the Uno is over there, and I just don't have room anymore for these things. So yeah, it's so well built. The knobs don't wobble. We don't like wobbly knobs. The faders, they've got a little wiggle in them, but you know, nothing terrible. I thought these were metal, but they're not. They're just silver plastic. The Morphe has a really nice feel to it. That springy tension is just, you know, it is right. It's just right. It doesn't require a huge amount of effort to push it down. Until you get to the lower, you know, extremities of it, it just feels really, really nice. So build quality is fantastic. The audio outputs are very clean. If you can hear any hissing in the background, it's not the synth. It's because I've got a little fan up there that's blowing cool air onto me because it's rather warm, and my microphone's kind of in between, so that's my problem. So outputs are very clean, and it just works. I mean, it really is a very, very lovely thing to look at, very lovely thing and it's got big feet. It's got big, you know, kind of like inch deep rubber feet on the bottom. One thing Arturia didn't send me was their lovely wooden legs. That would have been nice, although I'd have to find room for those. I do want to just say that Arturia have sent this. This is not a paid promotion. I know one of the guys in the marketing department, he said, I'd love you to have a go with this and try it. You don't have to do anything. don't have to do any videos, or there's no obligations here. He just said, you know, here you go, have a play with it, which I was blown away by. And if I can do anything to keep this, I will want to keep this. That's how much I've fallen for it in just a week. It's a beautiful thing to play. I'm getting some amazing sound. I've already started programming my own patches, which are not wonderful, shall we say, but yeah, it's drawn me in deeply. Wagyu says he can't hear the fan. Brilliant, that's good, because I can hear it in my headphones. But again, this is testament to that investment in the SMB7 or SM7B, should I say. That's a great, if you are in the market for a microphone, whether it's for a vocal microphone for, you know, podcasting, or just, you know, singing vocals, I cannot recommend this microphone, the SM7B, enough. It just looks amazing, looks lovely, and it sounds really good. Anyway, Cynthian Sound. Hello, Chris. You cheeky so and so. He says, "Oops, have I got the wrong?" That's, you guys are sort of commenting so fast. Honestly, stop. Will you please stop? I need to put this. I'm glad I don't do the show on the laptop. Glad to have a break from those two wankers, Chris and Grandpa Simpson. That's a bit of an in joke. Wankers. What's this as Wagyu? So I'm just picking through your chat comments at the moment, because I'm aware that I haven't. You need to recreate the original 32 DX7 patches on it. No, I don't. Yeah. Wilderness Music says, let's have a look. I wonder why Arturia elected not to use the same tilted panel as Matrix Brute. That's a question that a few people have, or a point that a few people have raised. Raised, do you see what yeah, it would have been nice to have that panel tilted up, because, you know, I played with the Matrix Brute a couple of years ago at Synthfest, and I liked that. You know, it felt, you know, nice, that kind of angled panel. I don't know why. Maybe it adds to the cost. Maybe there's a lot. Yeah, I mean, there is a lot in here. I've seen the insides of this. I haven't opened this one up, but I've seen pictures of the insides of one of these, and there's a lot packed in here. And it does get warm, but not, you know, not burny hot. There's lots of vents at the back. There is no fans, by the way, but it gets warm. And I've had this on for about half a day without switching it off, and it just stays nicely toasty warm. But no, I don't know why they didn't put the raised panel in. That's something that would be interesting. Maybe we can try and get somebody from Arturia onto the show. Chris asks a very good question, which is, has Simon played this yet? Yes, he has, I believe. Or if he hasn't, he's formed his opinion, which is a negative one based on videos. But anyway, yeah, I know, I'm pretty sure he's played one. I don't know if he's actually had one for a while. I mentioned Synthfest, so there's some people in the chat, for example, Andrew, Synthfest, big up Sheffield indeed, and Graham, aka Edna's Disco Machine, is Synthfest on this year. I know, I'm not sure I can say. There will, let's just say, something is going to be happening. Okay, that's about all I can say at the moment. I had a long phone conversation with Sound on Sound today, talking about stuff. So, yeah, there will be something happening with Synthfest this year. That's about all I'm at liberty to say. So please do stay tuned. We'll be talking about that as often as we can. Yeah, so I don't know if they've. I'm pretty sure they haven't announced anything yet. because we're still kind of setting it up. Andrew, you seem to be getting rather excited there. I don't know why. I'm digging my own grave here. So nothing has been announced as far as I'm aware. So when I said something would be happening, I didn't mean something physical would be happening. I didn't mean something virtual. I didn't say anything. Something will be happening. But yeah, I think something will be announced fairly soon. So yeah, don't get too excited, is all I'll say. Which is, yeah, must resist. If you've got any other questions, if you've got any other questions about this, fire them into the chat. What's the time now? It's about 25 past 10, so it's near my bedtime. Wagyu says, this one I've got to address. Did Roland do anything for 808 Day aside from the RC505? Yes, they did, Wagyu. They released a leather jacket for $808. That's what Roland did for 808 Day. Go for it. I think I might need to take you up on that offer, Andrew. Like I said, something will be happening. Didn't say what, just something. But yes, Roland celebrated 808 Day by bringing out a 808 bomber jacket for $808 or pounds or whatever it was. Dollars, it must have been dollars. Yes. But yeah, if you've got any questions about this, fire them in now and I'll try and answer them. As long as they're not too... Actually, I'm going to be brave here. I'm actually going to put my... So where are the patches that I created? Yeah, so this was the first patch that I created. I did put something up on the Facebook page. And I said, I created my first patch. And somebody said, well, let's hear it then. I said, yeah, I created one. I didn't say it was that good. But this is what I created, the first one. Second one was I haven't even added aftertouch to that one. So I mean, it's got me creating patches which I always find easy to do, obviously, on something like this rather than a DX7 or a DX5. But yeah, it's do you know what? I bought the Korg Legacy collection the other day when it came out, and was just like, that was it. I was throwing myself right into that, and then this turned up and I haven't touched the Korg Legacy collection since. So yeah. All of these sounds are reminding me of Howard Jones tracks. You'd never think that Howard Jones was one of my synth heroes. What's this say? Wilderness Music's got a question. Let's see if I can bring it up on the screen. Come on, do your thing. Right, so Wilderness Music says, that patch demonstration had big stereo fields. Is there an individual panning of each oscillator or coming from that mysterious stereo spread knob? So, yeah, I mean, see, was it this one? I don't think I put any panning, or certainly didn't put any modulations in for panning on those. But yeah, I think you can. Can you pan the oscillators? That's a really good question. I don't know. I'm going to just be honest here. I don't know if you can. Like I said, I've only had it a week, so can't really say. But it does have, you know, so it has this stereo. Oh, you can. Yeah, it's kind of a subtle effect. I can hear it on that patch. This is with it on wide, and this is with it at regular. Just feels a bit more focused in the middle. It's not a massive. I don't know if you can mess around with the width itself, but yeah, it's not massive, but it's noticeable. Right, let's see. What else we got? Wagyu says, why do you think they did the Prophecy instead of the Z1 in the Korg Legacy Collection? That's a really good question. But they are two different instruments. I mean, the Z1 is not just well, actually, it's not a polyphonic Prophecy. It's a polyphonic synth that uses the same technology, but in a different way. So what we have now is a polyphonic Prophecy. It's exactly a polyphonic Prophecy, 256 note polyphonic Prophecy, which is just like, particularly for somebody like me who bought one, you know, early doors and has just gotten so used to it just being monophonic, and it's brilliant like that. Why didn't they do a Z1? I think as Asio Head says, maybe they're still working on it. Maybe that's just, you know, now we can do MOS in plugins. We'll do the Prophecy first, and then we'll do the Z1 at the next release. Maybe, I don't know. But it would be nice to have both, because the Z1 is distinctly different from the Prophecy in a great number of ways. Not just the fact that it's polyphonic, but it has different models, extra models, and so it's not. And you can't use Prophecy patches in the Z1; they're not compatible. Which, you know, might have been a missed trick, but still, you know, it's. I'm really happy with having a software Prophecy, I've got to say, and I've been A/Bing them for a while, and they're indistinguishable, and I know the Prophecy very well. I know its sound very well, and I've used it on, you know, productions, and it really is an incredible instrument, just incredible. I mean, when I was doing that, the work on the soundtrack for Songbird with Lorne Balfe, there was a kind of requirement for a human element to the sound. He wanted synthesizers, but I felt there was a requirement for some kind of human element, and the Prophecy just gave that, you know, it gave a very natural thing to it, and so I loved, really enjoyed using that, came into its own there. And now to have it as a software plugin. My only disappointment is that you can't use the plugin as a librarian stroke editor, which I think is a missed trick. It would have been really nice. I guess, it's just a bit too much to ask, but yeah, that would have been nice. That would have been nice to have that as an editor. But still, I now have a 256 voice polyphonic prophecy in my computer that takes up very little room on the computer, and it sounds amazing. It just sounds really amazing. And the Z1, yeah, the Z1 is pretty affordable if you can find one. I got mine from a guy called Jonathan Redman, who you might know from the group. He sold me that. Actually, he sold me a lot of stuff. Bless him. But he sold me that and the CS6X at the same time, and I got those for a very good price, market price. And they are, if you can find one with the 18 voice as opposed to the standard 12, then that's nice. But even so, I mean, 18 voices, again, 12 voice, 18 voice, I don't really, I've never found myself wanting on the Z1. I still keep a lookout for the extra voice board, but they are very rare. Most of the time they came with the machine, as they did actually release it as a Z1 EX in limited markets. But yeah, so hopefully we'll see a Z1 at some point, because I guess if they're now able to model the modeling system, the multi-oscillator synthesis system that Korg used, that came from the original mythical Oasis development system, and then they used in the Prophecy, and then they used in the Z1, and then obviously the expansion boards that were used in Tritons and so on, so forth. Then yeah, they can do that now in software. Then I'm sure the Z1 isn't going to be too far behind, one would hope. Oh yes, somebody's made a web app editor for the microwave. Kent promised me he'd got a microwave, so I'm going to when I go and see him, I'll see if I can pick that up and have a play with it. He wasn't sure whether it was dead or alive. He was just spinning it right round like a record. Maybe we'll see a plug-in version of the Oasis PCI card. Yeah, that'd be nice. I never played with one, so I'm not entirely sure of its capabilities compared to the Z1 or the Prophecy, or even one of the expansion cards. But yeah, it was the whole MOS thing was kind of came to an abrupt halt, really, didn't it? We had the Prophecy, then we had the Z1 2 or 3 years later, and everyone was going, wow, look, physical modelling, and then it just kind of stopped. And my theory is that it just happened, it was like wrong time, wrong place, that physical modelling was trying to do authentic models. If you look at the Z1, you had the electric piano model in there, plus you got the strings and the brass and the woodwind and all the other stuff in there, plus the analog stuff. And if you wanted virtual analog, there are many cheaper options, and if you wanted good acoustic sounds, sampling was really coming into its own and becoming affordable. And so I just think that all of the physical modelling synths, not that there were many, but the Korg Prophecy Z1, the Yamaha VLs, and the VP, just kind of went away because they were a much more expensive option compared to sampling, which was getting really good at the time. So I know that's just my theory. I have a theory, and my theory is this, and that's what it is. So yeah, it's a shame. But now, if you can pick them up now. Get them. Even if you can get a software Prophecy now that's 256 note polyphonic, get a hardware one, because it's a lot of fun. And so that's probably the one synth still that you would have to prize from my cold dead hands. Right. Now, do you know, this pains me. Wagyu says here, WSA1 crew represent. So here's a funny, not so funny thing. Last week there was a WSA1 for sale on eBay, and it was sat at £150. And it was the keyboard version, and it had a slight crack on one of the end cheeks, and the screen had got a line going down it, but for the most part it was in reasonably good condition. And I remember when I was in the market to buy some more synths, which was, I guess, kind of mid to late 90s, Turnkey were clearing them out for stupid money, £400-500. And I hummed and I hard and I hummed and I hard, and in the end I said no, I'm not going to get one. And I immediately regretted it, because they sold out very quickly, particularly when I started to hear what it could do. And it's not a true physical modelling synth in maybe the same way as the VLs or the Prophecies are. It uses elements of sampling in there as well, I believe. But I always wished I'd got one. Anyway, there was this one on eBay last week, and it was 150 quid, and I thought, now that's going to go for 400-500, I reckon, because they don't come up that often. And yes, it's got a little bit of damage, but I reckon that'll go. And then it got closer and closer to the end of the sale, and it was still at 150 quid. And it got to like the last hour, and it was still 150 quid. And I thought, do you know, this could be the time. This might be the one that I can eventually get for stupid money. And I waited and I waited, and I thought, no, I'll wait. And it got to like 10 minutes, it was still 150. 5 minutes, it was still 150. It started counting down the last 60 seconds. It went up to 155 and sold for 155. And I didn't buy it because I was just there was something holding me back, and I don't quite know what it was. Maybe it's because I don't know where I'd put another 76 note keyboard in here, because I think it was a 76, wasn't it? And now, of course, just like I did 25 odd years ago, I regret it, and I wish I'd gone for it. So yes, I still would like to get one. So Wagyu says, yeah, the one that got away, and you'd find the room, and I will be thinking about it for years. Again, I can't say anything right now, but I'm going to have less room soon. A lot less room. Maybe that's another reason why I hung fire. But like you say here, the rack version, if you could pick those up, that might be an interesting option. So we'll see. I think one day maybe. And of course the other thing is shipping. With something that big and that delicate, you'd have to go and pick that up, and it wasn't too far away. But yeah, anyway, yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I didn't buy it originally back in the day was it was made by Technics, and back then I was still pretty snobby about my gear, and I saw Technics, they do home organs, this can't be any good, and I was wrong, and I'll own that. There you go. Wagyu says, persuade the missus to swap this room with the master bedroom. I have tried. The only problem is that the main bedroom, which actually sits above our garage, which we don't, stores fairlights and stuff, but because it sits above the garage, it gets quite cold in the winter. So I said that my reasoning was, I'll have that as my studio, because then you can, sleep in a room that doesn't get too cold in the winter. And she pointed out that room has got a very large built-in wardrobe, and she didn't want to be moving from one room to another to get stuff. And so I could completely understand that. So that kind of blew that out of the water. So there you go. First world problems. glad to see that I'm not the only person that suffers from gear snobbery when they saw a synth made by Technics. I just honestly thought that it probably wouldn't be that good. Yes, so no, wrong. See, the things move so quickly and my laptop's too slow. Native says a lot less room. Where's the TX1 going then? Yeah, it's not going in here, that's for sure. There is literally no more room at the inn. But yeah, I think we've all got tales of ones that got away, or ones that we let slip through our fingers for stupid reasons, like we thought it wasn't any good because it was made by Technics or something. Anyway, right, I think I'll be drawing this to a close because it's almost 2 hours, and yeah, you've had a show's worth out of me. So all that remains for me to say is that, let me just move my microphone over here. See, this is my biggest fear. I've got so many things hanging around here, all perched precariously, that the slightest move could have the whole thing tumbling like a house of cards. I don't want that. Right, so sorry, yeah, but it's true. It's true, Graham. The garage does store fairlights and stuff. There's 3 in there at the moment. Anyway, so what have we got coming up? There's a good question. So I'm really excited about this Friday, because we're going to be joined by a very dear friend of mine, Mr. Mark Reeder. He's going to be on the show this coming Friday. And if you haven't heard of Mark Reeder, and you should have, Google him. Even if you just go to the Wikipedia page and you go, oh, and then watch the trailer for B Movie, Lust and Sound in West Berlin, which is a movie all about Berlin, but it's mostly centered around Mark because he tells an amazing story and has led a very amazing life. And Mark and I have been friends for a long while, and I think he's going to be in Prague actually on Friday, so that'll be a challenge. So yeah, we've got Mark coming up. And I haven't got my list of dates here, but we've got Mick McNeil coming back, we've got Axel Hartman, we've got Martin Ware, and of course we've got Steve Porcaro to look forward to in a couple of months' time, which I'm super stoked about. And of course we've got our regular new regular feature with Kent Spong. He'll be with us on the 3rd Friday of every month, and he's going to just be hanging around, be cool, be in Kent, and maybe help you with your synth questions, your repair questions, restoration questions, and anything else that we can get him to do. And I'm going to see if I can negotiate a deal with Dominic Hawken to see if we can use his jingle, Kent Spong, can you tell me what's wrong, which I thought was brilliant, absolutely genius. So yeah, lots of great guests, but we'll be back live 7 p.m. UK time, 8 p.m. Central European, 2 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States, 11 a.m. on the West Coast, and sometime in the early hours of the morning if you live in Australia. And I'm really sorry about that, but somebody has to kind of give way, and it does tend to always be the Australians, and they're very kind and considerate like that. But yeah, there we go. Right, yeah, so we'll be back Friday, 7 p.m. UK time, and all those different time slots around the world. Do make sure you join us. If you can, right now, everybody that is currently in the chat watching this video, can you, like right now, it is live, by the way, Adam, can you hit that like button? Just hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. Even if you turn the notifications off, just subscribe, because we're getting closer and closer to that magic 1,000, and that means a lot to us. Not just the fact that we've got 1,000 subscribers, which is really nice, but also it means that we get other benefits and access to certain features and what have you. So hit the like buttons now rather than later on, but of course hit them later on if you want to, but also subscribe if you haven't already, and I'm sure most of you have. So yeah, please do that. Yeah, Scott's just pointed something out. I was having a conversation with my superiors at Sound on Sound today, and we were talking about YouTube, and they said, yeah, do you know, I subscribe to lots of things, and they said, oh, we don't get notifications anymore. And it does seem to be that some algorithm is going on. I get notifications of some people, but not all people. And I know that you can personalize it, but I'm not entirely sure what's going on with YouTube in terms of notifications. But yeah, subscribe, and please just subscribe, because as Synthetic just posted in the chat room, 1,000 means that we can now monetize the channel, which means that the more people that, we can maybe put an advert at the beginning or the end. We won't make it obtrusive, and we can maybe generate a little bit more income that will help with the running costs. You guys have been brilliant, by the way, with your donations, but they will just help with the running costs. That would be fantastic. But also it allows you, if you want to donate, which again, like I say, so many of you have done that, and we are so grateful for it, because it means that we are going to be on the air for at least another year, until the end of until the end of 2022. So far, your subs have been absolutely amazing. Your donations, sorry, but if you get 1,000 subscribers or more, then we can turn on Super Chat, which means that you can make donations within the show. And that's a lot of people find that a lot easier than going through the whole PayPal process. And we'd like to make it as easy as possible for you to give us money. Where is the money? When is the money coming? So yeah, if you can do that, that'd be fantastic. Tell your friends, and also just get people to subscribe, and it helps us help you deliver a show that is basically made by people just like you, for people just like you. We're not influencers. We are not YouTube professionals. We are amateurs. We do this for the love of the community. We are the community. We're not doing this for anything else other than serving you guys and girls, and those that identify in whatever way you want to identify. We are doing it for you. We don't want to make any money out of this. We don't want to make a career out of this. I've got a really good day job that pays really good money, and this would not substitute that. So I'm not giving up my day job. So you can be assured of the fact that we are just here for the fun of it. So yeah, I hope that you enjoy what we do. We enjoy what we do, and we enjoy you enjoying what we do. So please, keep up supporting us, and if you can, just spread the word. That's why we have this ProSynth Network Show Facebook page, a page just for the show that you can then share upcoming broadcasts. So when we post a new broadcast, all the links go up there, and you can actually share those links anywhere you like. Unfortunately, you can't do that from the main Facebook page, but you can do it from this one. So if you haven't already, look for the ProSynth Network Show Facebook page, which is different from the ProSynth Network Facebook page. And then you can share those links, and you can share those anywhere you like, where it won't get you banned or kicked from a Facebook group that doesn't allow people to advertise. Which, there you go. Wagyu says, I'm surprised how many people in the Facebook group aren't subbed. I know, right? It's like everybody in the Facebook group just hit the subscribe button. We would be well over our required, 1,000 subs. But there you go. They aren't, and we can't force them to. We'd like them to. I know that when Kent posted something last week, he said, it was quite an amusing post, but we did have a little surge. So there we go. Right, I'm just trying to keep up with the comments. The pro in ProSynth Network. There is a long story. If you've been around since the beginning of the group when Ben started it, you'll know that the name of the group was somewhat different, and it kind of generated some negativity. But there you go. So we changed the group name. Pro Synth Network was kind of the name that seemed to cover what we wanted it. We wanted it to be professional, not in terms of synth professionals, but professional in its outlook and its behaviour. And we are so happy that the Facebook group still, to this day, is really well behaved, really well used, and the people who interact on it are fantastic, and behave impeccably. There's very few occasions where there's a little bit of a to and forth between people, but it very quickly dies away. Don't think I've had to delete any posts or block anyone ever, which is fantastic. We are looking into setting up a website, so that those people that don't want to follow on Facebook, we're looking into it. We've got the domains and everything. We just need to get time to build the site. Again, we're not professional YouTubers or influencers. We're just like three of you guys just doing it. That's all. Yes, Native VS says the group was called Synth Elite, which was a name that was chosen by Ben, and without huge amounts of thought about what that might mean to some people. And so we changed it very quickly when we became aware of that. What would a website have to offer, says Native VS? Just a focal point, really. Somewhere we can maybe do some other fundraising activities or post, other stuff. That's why we haven't really developed it, because we are still kind of thinking, what can we do? Is social media enough? Do people want a website? So there you go. Kind of gone off topic here, haven't I? Blimey. And people are still coming into the show, which is lovely to see. Ben's sexy synth orgy. Yeah, it should have been that, shouldn't it? Absolutely. Behringer discount codes. Yeah, the Cork Sniffer Network. That was seriously, Cork Sniffer Network. It's funny, but that's kind of what people saw Synth Elite as. They thought it was, kind of a bit snotty, and we really didn't want to be that. What Ben was trying to do with the name was to come up with a name that said, look, we're better than some of the shit shows that you see on other Facebook groups. That's why he created this. He just wanted to get away from that kind of behaviour, and the fact that every other post turned into an absolute slanging match. And he's successfully done that with all of your help and your, you guys make it. You guys make it what it is. We don't. We're just there we're part of it as much as you are. But you guys and girls make it for us. So there we go. I'm getting really thirsty. I haven't got a drink up here. I had a cup of tea about 2 hours ago, and I'm parched. I might have a little snifter of something before going to bed. Anyway, I'm definitely gonna go. I do love sitting here talking to you lot, because we don't get out much these days, do we? What with COVID and all that. So it's nice to actually kind of sit here and talk. I mean, talking to you, it's a funny dynamic, isn't it? I'm doing all the bloody talking. You guys are sort of typing away. Easy. You got it easy. But no, I do enjoy this. So I hope you do too, and I hope you've appreciated. I hope you've appreciated the PolyBrute as much as I am appreciating it, and I hope that in the coming weeks and months, as I find out more about, I'm not entirely sure how long I've got this for. Like I said, I'm going to be lobbying to keep it as long as I possibly can. But yeah, expect more. If you want to know more about the specifics of what each element of this synth does, please, 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 please go and watch Mark Doty's 26-part PolyBrute series on the Automatic Gainsay channel. Please go and watch that, because I have, and I've been learning. That's how I'm doing a lot of my learning, is just I've got Mark over here, keyboard over here, and I'm just doing what he's doing, and I'm figuring it all out and understanding what these things do. So if you want to know more about, you know, the specifics of it, Mark's series is fantastic, and Arturia's own videos are pretty good. All the black keys, all the black keys. Yeah, that was funny. Did anybody else used to play the black keys on the piano and think, oh, I can make some like Oriental? That was a white key. Yeah, so I've seen a lot of people talk about the PolyBrute in a very, very positive way, and I can only concur with those. There's nothing negative about this synth for me in any shape or form. Synth Addict says, oh, be careful what you ask for. It would be cool to have an all FM shootout video from several of your FM beauties. That would be interesting. I would like to actually kind of sit down and go through the FS1R, but the problem with the FS1R is that it's this 1U. Let me see if I can move. Yeah, you can just see it just over there. It's this 1U rack mount. And so to kind of get into it, you've got to, you know, sit there at the panel. I mean, you can get software. I wonder if I've got that. Here we go. Let's see. Ooh. This is the FS1R. That's one of my favourite FS1R patches, that one. Yes, yeah, maybe I should do. But yeah, FM shootout. Maybe that's something we can do another day. DX5 versus DX7. Versus DX11 versus FS1R versus Essence FM, maybe even the CE25. Get the CE25 wired in. Might even boot the CX5M up. Do I have Mega FM yet? No, I've kind of passed on that. I was looking at it was a toss up. I know it sounds odd, but it was a toss up between that and Essence FM, and I went the expensive route, and I'm glad I did. However, I've got one of those on order, the XFM, which will be here in about 4 to 6 weeks' time, they said. So they've had a slowdown because of the situation in Malaysia, where they're built and then they're sent to Japan to be tested, and then they're sent to the customers. So there's been a delay for a number of reasons. But yeah, the XFM, the Sonicware Live and XFM will be here within a month or so. So that'll be interesting, and maybe we can do something because that looks and sounds really very cool. So that's going to be the next little Inti, she's in the group. She's done a great XFM demo, as has Chris Lodi, or Chris Dodsworth, who again is also in the group now, thankfully, and we've got him in there. He's done some really great tutorials and videos of all the Sonicware live and stuff, the 8-bit warps and the XFM. So very much looking forward to that. Apparently I need a Buchla 700 to complete my FM collection. Again, you know, money, space, and patience. The closest I've ever got to a Buchla is the Arturia version, which obviously isn't much like the real deal. I think I'm going to go and have a drink now. So look, guys, girls, and those that are anywhere else on the spectrum, thank you for your patronage as always. Really appreciate you coming along, and I hope that, you know, we've covered the PolyBrute in enough detail for you to kind of get a flavour of it. If you get your chance to get hands on one of these, please do, because it really is a very, very lovely thing. It's not cheap, but it's very, very lovely. And if you are in the market for an analog polysynth, then this has to be on your list. Maybe not top. I still want a Prophet 10 Rev 4, but I think I'm a way off of that. So yeah. Do that. And like I said before, if you want to get a real in-depth knowledge of every aspect of this synth, go and check out Mark Doty's videos, 26 of them, on the Automatic Gainsay YouTube channel. Well worth a look. All right, I'm going to love you and leave you and have a little grappa before I go to bed. So take the greatest of care, and please subscribe, like, do all of that stuff, share this stuff around. And we will see you 7 p.m. UK time, which is 8 p.m. Central European, 2 p.m. East Coast US, 11 a.m. West Coast US this Friday. We've got Mark Reeder. It's going to be a real laugh. He's an amazing, very interesting man. So thank you ever so much. Thanks for all of your company. It's so appreciated. Thank you. Take care. And I'm going to waffle until I get to the end credits, because they've laid everything out all differently here. Here we go. Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.